Okay, we're back again. Inspire life and leadership conversations that go deeper with Drew and Steve. And we are currently on season one, all about identity, and episode seven, which is part two of living into our values. And a little recap, there is a document that I'm glad to send anybody who's interested that is covering about seven, eight, or nine different value exercises. I have it in front of me. I can probably look for the total number. It looks like eight, with an additional final exercise around saboteurs, but we already covered that. So we got through peak experiences, suppressed values, knowing that when something happens in our lives and we are stressed or angry or frustrated, it's probably because one of our values got pushed or stepped on.
Yeah.
And then must haves were the three. And now today we're just going to, as Steve and I do well, meander around the rest of them and see where we get without stressing over, rushing over it. The next one in line will be value exercise number 4, secret passion. And before I get going on that, Steve, do tell. Thoughts?
My secret passion, or
No,
this?
but just generally, hello, and what do you have for us?
I this one, I mean, we talked about it last time a little bit, but this one, leaning into your values is always really interesting. It really gets down to the core of who you are, and we never spend enough time understanding the core of who we are. We're constantly, it seems like, playing with the saboteurs on the outside of us and trying to get those in check, and everybody else's saboteurs who like to show up in the room at the same time. And so this is, to me, this is cool that we get to spend a couple of episodes really focusing on what are our core values. That really hits home to me, and it's been a fun exercise for me to actually have to, I've gone through it, but now I have to go through it and explain it, and it's been a wrestling match. Honestly, it's been and it should be, as if the people who are doing it at home, it should be a wrestling match. It should feel like it's a wrestling match. It feels like, your trade-offs and your beliefs and what really goes to your core. But it's really important to get centered on that.
Yeah, and I guess the and that I have and I'm wondering about is, I mean, I just had it almost weekly. I have an executive say, I don't even know who I am. I don't know my identity. I don't
Wow.
know. I mean, that's very common because we're so tied up in our heads about what do we have to do next and what saboteurs, like you
Yeah.
said. And so it's a pretty sacred place to be able to figure out like what
Yeah.
makes me tick and who am I all about. And I think that we will also touch on strengths because that's part of who we are as well,
Right.
and weaknesses, which you've already covered largely. But values are tricky in the sense that I was stumped this week because I really love the value of whimsy, but
Yeah.
do I really do it very well? And I guess I heard my judge voice show up in my head and say, well, you suck at whimsy. So why would that be a value of yours? And I think it's really tapping into when you see whimsy or when I see whimsy, does it really take my breath away? Is it really a moment of like, oh, I love whimsy, even though I don't do it enough or I'm not really great at it? And I think that to me helps me to get to the center of what turns me on, what
Right.
drives my boat. What are your thoughts about that?
I was kind of I'm just wondering, when you said that, is that a trait you admire in others? We're
Yes.
jumping in that first thing, and as the prep, I'm going, Drew, you must be describing what you admire in others when they have that whimsical.
Bob freaking Goff. I love that guy's stuff. He is so filled with whimsy. I'm doing a devotional that he has, which is the best one I've ever seen. And it is so whimsical. He's just funny and quirky. It makes you laugh. I'm like, yes,
I
absolutely.
love it. So
Yeah.
for you, that's a trait in others that you want. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I think it is one of mine. I just you can potentially get down on yourself of like, well, then if it is, then why aren't you showing up that way? Which I don't know if that's what it's really about as much as what's the energy that you're getting from others showing it or from when you show it or when you experience it.
Right. Right. What what reaction do you feel? What do you feel when you try to express whimsy? When
It lighthearted, just playful
okay.
lightheartedness, my spirit is lifted. So it does jive with the value for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but does it go against the Drew that wants to be all knowing and all seeing and it kind of plays again does it play against that part of you?
So beautiful question. And that, Drew, is hyper rational saboteur
Yeah.
Professor Spock,
Yeah.
Drew. That being said, and my clients get stuck on this too, it's like, well, how do I know the difference between the saboteur and me? Well, if my energy is sit down, shut up, and let me tell you how smart I am, that's not me. That's a saboteur trying to
Yeah.
infiltrate and show up and try to be and act smart.
Right.
If I show up with like maybe the Curious George or Einstein curiosity of just whimsical curiosity, like, well, tell me more. Let me learn. I love to learn and let's learn together.
Right.
That's a core strength or part of who I am.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
that whimsy. Show you used to say that, go pug, where you had
Yeah.
the pug dog that just had that I don't want to say stupid look on his face, but it had
You
that
can say
just
that.
big eyes, trying to learn, trying to figure out what's going on in this world around me. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And I think that leads us to, and we'll jump in right momentarily, but it also leads us to that bigger picture of the other exercise we haven't talked about, which is that idea of you can actually categorize these values or cluster them together and put them in kind of clusters of maybe even a combination of strengths and values, and
yeah,
then name that.
yeah,
Like when you just talked about, that's kind of like I call it Coach Drew. And under the framework of Coach Drew is curiosity, playfulness, whimsy, maybe even a little inspiration.
right.
So I think we can actually have those bigger categories within the values discussion.
Yeah. We talked a little bit about that last time, but I don't think we ever went down and said because you have that wonderful sheet of all of the different um what do I say the different beliefs and we talked about how some of them just naturally bundle together, but we never sat down and said, okay, these are really my five bundles. And how do I describe these five
Yeah.
bundles or whatever, or three bundles or two bundles? Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're going to table that, but
Yeah.
we're going to remind each other that that's something we want to get into
Love it.
after this.
Love it.
So we're at secret passion. And I asked this question when I was first starting coaching. I used a barter system instead of payment for coaching when I was like 20 years ago. And one of my buddies, I said, what's your secret passion? And, he's like tough guy, man's man guy. He's like opening a bagel shop. And I was like, wait, what? It was so cool. I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, that's on the list. That's number one. So it's kind of can be, who knows, right?
Yeah.
So what comes up for you when there's this secret passion?
You mean I have to admit this?
Oh,
uh, I really want to I love singing. Not
okay.
and I play around with it. My brother had absolutely wonderful singing voice. He
Mm,
was probably would have been on, America's Got Talent or something like that when he was a kid, if that were around. He was that, honestly, he was that good. I don't have his capability, but I have that soul to like to sing and I would love to learn how to play the guitar and sing, and that is as hokey as that might sound and as folksy as that might sound, but that's kind of my secret passion. Whether I do it well or not is a different discussion, but it's something that I really enjoy, something that really moves me and really would love to do. But I don't know that I've really told anybody that out loud. I think maybe why my wife knows, but yeah.
How it's beautiful. How does it correlate? Because I guess this is a values exercise. How does that
Yeah.
correlate or not correlate with your values?
Oh, great question. For me, there's something, I don't know if it goes to inspiration, um, or if it goes to spiritual, or but there's something that moves my soul when it does that, when I sing. Um, there's something that touches my soul there. And that's the connection. It might be, I find it inspirational. It's inspirational to me. It's uplifting to me. Um, it's maybe beauty is a thing, even
Hmm.
though I'm not talking about having a beautiful singing voice. I'm talking about there's a beauty in that experience. It's more my experience than everybody else's experience. But yeah, there's that might be, and those are values that probably weren't at the top of my list. But that's the secret passion. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. I love that. Yeah. Uh, there's other questions embedded in this values exercise number four. And there, I guess, well, yeah, I mean, if time and resources were not a concern, describe the things you long to do.
For me,
Okay.
that was it. That's I would spend the and honestly, I have no excuse other than my own saboteurs getting in my way right now. I've got enough time to do it, and I have a guitar. There's plenty of resources out there to be able to teach you on YouTube or, classes or whatever on how to do it. So for me, there's no excuses in there, and that was an interesting question for me because I through work I got a chance to travel a lot. I got a chance to see a lot of the world. That's not as big of a draw to me. But right now that music thing is the thing that's calling me, and I have no excuse to not do it. Um, a lot of people maybe it's travel that gets to them, that they want to see and experience different cultures, how they want to get plugged in. But for me right now, it's got to get back to music. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. And it is,
How about for you? What's your
I knew you were going to turn it around to me, and I was like, oh, I better come up with something. Um, I think my secret passion for a long time was actually being able to work as full time, like as a coach
Yep,
and do
yep,
teamwork. And I really, it's that moment when you see another person or a team just have an aha, like
yep,
oh, there's a shift here. And it may
yep,
be so subtle that nobody's seeing it. Maybe you're seeing it, maybe they're not seeing it, but it's just such a whimsical space, really. I
right.
mean, an inspirational space.
Yeah.
I think, strangely enough, the thing that other came to mind is piano. I mean, I have no musical talent at all, but I took piano when I was a kid, and then I retook it when I was 40 for a little while.
Wow.
And then, weirdly enough, I took it for maybe 6 months or a year, got okay, did some pieces I'd
Hmm.
never considered I could do, and then I stopped, and now I'm 58, and I don't even know where middle C is. Like it's weird. My brain just completely shut down. But again, and like you, I probably have the time, but
Yep.
I don't know. Anyway, that would be cool. It'd be cool to be able to get back into that and be able to play some piano. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
a secret passion of mine, this is not really, maybe it's kind of weird, but when my enough of my friends retire that I can hang out and play backgammon or cribbage with them, just there's a place, it's weird. Like I go to a men's group on Thursdays, and there's a place after the men's group where you have time that's expansive enough that you don't have to like, you're just that you take it.
Right.
There's that space of just
Yeah.
time because you and I know how grindy we were.
Yeah.
And, we can still be where you're just, and time is just so scarce and you
Yeah.
just freak out and you like look at your watch and you got to go, I got to go to have that space to just, that's kind of a secret passion of like be able to take that time clock in your head and dump it and just
Right.
let
And
things unfold. And I'm learning that, but that's another secret part of my life or a longing probably that I'd like more of.
that's cool.
Um,
I love that. We we end up doing a lot of that when we get together with my my dear friends of ours. We might get into that, but we spend a lot of time in the evening playing games. I mean, it's board, every night it's a different, it feels like it's a different board game or a different card game, and it's just kind of fun to sit around, hang out and be, right?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah, that's a rare thing in
yeah,
our world.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, what's missing in your life, the presence of which would have your life be more fulfilling? Kind of more of the same for me. It's like that's kind of very kind of correlates. I think if I did a
Mm.
little more piano or started that adventure again, if I was more intentional with my friends and had that carve out
Yep,
time or yeah,
yep.
yeah.
For me, I'm still kind of looking for the next thing. Um, music would be part of it. I've plugged into a charity who I'm volunteering for, and I'm really enjoying that. Um, you can kind of be the old sage that keeps everything moving along, and that,
Hmm.
that part of it's fun. Um, but I keep feeling like there's one more thing, and I haven't figured out what it is yet.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah,
Well, I love that you said that because I think that if there's a feeling of one more thing, what we tend to do is just kind of like wait or watch or whatever. But
yep,
I think this exercise helps to take, if I can hold
yeah,
my values front and
yep,
center,
yep,
written out or on a
yep,
somewhere, then when these things show up in our lives, we can filter them through our values. Like,
yep,
does this align with my values? And if it does, then you go, okay, that might be the thing.
yep. Yeah, it's totally where what I was thinking of when we went into this whole values exercise of this is really you go into, let's say, normal work life out of college or out of trade school or wherever you go out, and you don't spend the time thinking about your values and what you really want. You kind of go in with the opportunities that are presented to you. And right now, for me, I have a blessing to be able to go back and get my values straight, get my saboteur straight, get my head really clear on what I want to do next, right? And most people don't get that kind of an opportunity to do that. So it's
Yeah,
really
yeah.
it's cool that I love the fact that that's my selfish part about going through the podcast of I'm learning more about myself, and I think at the end of it is like I think it'll reveal itself of what my next what my next calling is, right?
Beautifully said. And it saddens me that I think a lot of my clients, like you and I have been in most of our lives, just
Yep.
don't have time, don't have time.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you could only just find the time to process and do some of this work,
Yep.
then you'd have this framework to be able to make better decisions and to
Yep.
align better with who you were
Yep.
created to be. It's heartbreaking, but
Yep.
I get it. I mean, I get it. I'm too busy. Okay,
You
you know.
you get up often, not every day, but often excited to go to work, excited to be part of it, excited to be part of the change, excited to be part of the group that you're in or the group that you're leading. Um, you versus crud, I got another 12 and a half hour day ahead of me, and I've got meetings from, 6 o'clock in the morning to 11 at night. And, that I'm going to get nothing done that I really want to get done on my agenda because everybody else has got my time. and I've got
Mm.
to fulfill all these other things that everybody's wanting of me. If taking the time and figuring it out and really being able to do the things that you're called to do and that you want to do, um, you can figure out how that's the best of you aligning with a company. And there's no company in the world that doesn't want the best of you to show up, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, wouldn't that be great if the company starts you, part of your onboarding is doing this process where you're just, you
Yeah,
got blocked
yeah,
off time. And,
yeah,
because I don't know what the secret sauce is to motivate or get clients to take the time to spend on a values exercise or to create it. I mean, I made it simpler,
yep.
but it's still heavy lifting, like we talked about. I mean, it takes time.
That
So,
is that
yeah.
is heavy lifting.
Um, so I think we covered this one. I mean, the last question around this is what activities have heart and meaning for you? And I think that these questions around passion and secret passion are to help unpack or help us further discover our our values connected to these things.
Right, right.
Any other thoughts before we go to the next one?
No, I think we have exhausted this one. Yeah.
um, so number five is values exercise. Number five is obsessive expression. It says, we are all capable of obsessive behavior, insisting on honoring a value as a demand. For example, everything must be in its place to the point of perfection. When we insist on something, my way or the highway, there is a good chance there's a value being expressed in the extreme. What feedback do you get from family, friends, and family? For example, if you often hear, you are so controlling, you hog all the attention. These statements might point to a value of leadership or recognition. I guess I would say, as we know now, it could also point to a saboteur interference.
Yeah.
And so the question, I guess, is how do you know the difference? And the question is, are there any places in your life where you may be taking a value to the extreme? I, I mean, for my
Yeah.
life, I thought about, the opposite of a value. So one of my values is embrace,
Yeah.
and unpacking that leads to, leading into openness and being willing to listen and look at different viewpoints and, lean into relationship and connection, and as an introvert, that's kind of tricky.
Right.
Um, and embedded in that is the opposite. If I am the opposite to me of embrace, and maybe this doesn't apply, but I'm just thinking down this rabbit hole of like intransigence, this
Yeah.
weird fancy word about people include myself, rigidness, like not
Yeah.
willing to budge on any, nope, 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 nope. And that's to me the opposite of embrace. So when I see that rigidity, it just freaks me out a little bit, probably because it's embedded in me as well, but it does
Right.
definitely. So I guess that's not really. I'm doing a horrible way of. It's not really answering the question of where in my life is I'm taking the value to the extreme. Although maybe by taking the value to its opposite extreme has freaked me out and caused me to be, you know, not
Gotcha.
productive. I don't know.
Gotcha. I've got a conflict with my older sister right now, and I use that as an example because I think a lot of people have conflicts in their families, um,
Especially during the holidays.
especially during the holidays. Um, but I think, my value of altruism, um, I often expect people to have that same value and hold that same value.
Mm,
And I know that's not a value of my older sister. So, although and she's in the position of she's the eldest, often the leader in the family, right? And when she doesn't hold that value, I don't have respect for that leadership. Instead of, and it gets me in trouble because I get very judgmental at that point on what they're doing. And
Mm,
instead of leaning back and saying, well, what are her values right now? What's driving her to this situation? You know, that go pug, that Ted Lasso, be curious. What's driving her? I go into judgmental because she's not holding the same value that I am versus curious and trying to understand and ask questions. And you know, maybe through asking questions, um, understand why she's doing what she's doing, right?
mm,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I think we're kind both of us are kind of I'm trying to think of like a value that would be overdone. I
Yeah.
guess and so we're both kind of skirting the issue. I guess a value overdone value might be like justice and you get so obsessed by it that you can't let it go when it injustice occurs or I'm trying to think of, maybe, inspiration when I get
Yeah.
so obsessed by trying to look for it and try to make it happen and try to intellectualize it is when it gets overdone versus just going with allowing space for it to show up and feel it and not get stuck in my head. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm just wondering if you and I have played with them so much that we've toned down our under our
Overdone of them. Yeah.
overdone values. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
none of them, I guess that I have a bigger, I mean, to me, like you can get into like embrace, too much embracing can be enmeshment.
Yeah.
Too much altruism could almost be conditioned servitude or conditioned pleasing. Like you can. So maybe that's some of this is like if you go too far, like if I get too far dogmatic about inspiration, you probably could have hyper rational emerge.
Yeah.
Where it's
Yeah.
all about smartness
Yeah.
and trying to make.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
But that is true for me for altruism. I will get to the point of over serving. Of this is my duty, this is my job, this is where I fit, this is my where I fit in the family. I am the peacekeeper in the family, and um, I will often, do the self-sacrifice thing for the good of the family, even though it's not necessarily the best thing for me right then.
Yeah. And
Um,
then you get, and
yeah,
then probably get pissed at everybody for not showing
exactly,
altruism or, yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
And that's
Yeah,
probably what I'm doing with sometimes when I'm not seeing inspiration in others, maybe I'm like going, come on, guys,
yeah.
yeah, can't you see it? Yeah.
Yeah, this is your job right now. Yeah, this is what you're supposed to do right now. You're
Yeah.
paid to be inspirational. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. You got to
yeah,
get, gosh,
yeah,
our brains get so caught up and stuff.
yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Uh, let's move on probably, huh? Um, okay. Well, this one's a bigger one and we probably we'll end on this one. For today is value exercise number 6 is interview questions. I thought this one was really fun. I don't remember where I found it, but ask 3 or 4 family members, friends, or colleagues, or Chad, Chat GDP AI nowadays, you could theoretically, to answer these questions about you. Because it turns out that AI does start to get to know you and your patterns creepily enough. Um, write down what you hear them saying and ask yourself what values are reflected in their answers to these questions. And here's the questions. If I were on the cover of a magazine, what magazine would it be and what would the story be about? And then the second question, oh, there's 2 more. What do you see as my special talent or gift? And
Yeah,
what do I do naturally, effortlessly that is special? And then lastly, when I am most fully express this gift or when do I most show up fully expressing this gift or talent? And then it has like a diagram of like, family, friend, cover of Butch magazine, what's the story, my special gift or effortless talent. What am I expressing in this gift and talent? What are my values reflected? So it's a cool exercise. I think it's got a lot of power to it. You got to find some people willing to fill it out.
yeah, Yeah. What
What came
you had
up?
an interesting one with Chad GPT that came we for the listeners at home, he's nicknamed Chad and not we
Yeah.
know it's Chat GPT, but what did Chad came up with a beautiful one for you.
Okay, well, and I've been using Chad more frequently, and so he or she or it has gotten to know me, and I thought, you know, it's really creepy when I ask it advice about like some decision, and then it says, "Well, what does Brooke think about this?" And I'm like, "OMG!" So you know, be careful out there. I mean, you need to probably have the more secured paid version than the public version. But I asked it this, and I have over the years put my paid version of Chat GDP to the test by adding content that I've learned, trainings, coach exercises. So it's kind of like a file cabinet of information. And it said magazine cover it would be Harvard Business Review or Christianity Today featuring integrated neuroscience, faith, and leadership. And I was like, and I shared that with you. You're like,
Yeah,
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 that's pretty good, you know?
yeah.
So anyway, and it kind of gave me some other, let's see if it said reflected values. Its first one was inspiration, clarity, connection. Then it went on authenticity, contribution. So it kind of nailed me in a,
It
yeah,
really I thought it really nailed you. I thought it was perfect. I was like
Chad, if you're listening, thank you.
I thought it was spot on. I thought it was spot
Yeah.
on. I so in full honesty or full disclosure, I haven't done that part of the exercise yet. Um, I've got some new colleagues through the charity who I'm working with, and I promise the listeners I'll reach out to them and I'll get their feedback on that. There's some really good our CEO is really wonderful. I'm sure she'll have some interesting insight. And then another dear guy who I work with has actually got his doctorate in psychology, so I'm really good curious to see what he'll say. But
I mean, I guess I love that what you shared. I think it's maybe a pause for today and end today's session with the idea of homework. I
yeah,
mean, your Thanksgiving's right around the corner.
yeah,
Ask your family
yeah.
as a game at the dinner table is maybe like, hey, let's go around the table and let's have everybody share what they think each of us are a magazine cover and what the story would be. I don't know.
That sounds like fun.
It could
Yeah,
be great. It could be interesting.
yeah. As long as it's with, with my wife and son and then the family at Thanksgiving, the in-laws there, that'd be great. I think if it were just, my siblings, that could be a disaster, but
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think you have to have you want to make it a safe an
it's
environment that
gotta
you
be a
feel
safe
safe in,
place.
that you feel like you're not going to get like, uh, dumpster trucks
Yeah,
dot
exactly.
com is your,
Yeah.
say Steve dumpster trucks. And you're like, whoa, I mean, who knows? Right. But,
No,
yeah.
I
So
want to, I want
homework
to,
for until next time would be to like think about this using some of these modalities.
right.
And then we will take off with the seventh and eighth of so the last two next time. And then,
Okay.
yeah, and start landing the plane on the identity discussion.
Sounds great.
Okay.
It'll be fun.
Always a joy, and we'll talk soon.
See ya.